Ben Jordan, CEO at ABV Technology. A lot of you know me very well. I know you as friends or family or colleagues for the last 20 years, so it's really great to see people here. I appreciate you coming. This is a Wefunder party, and I'll explain what that is as we go through it. I'd like to first just thank Bauhaus for letting us be here. It's a great environment. They were our first customer, so it's fitting that we're here talking about raising capital 6 years after they started as a customer with us. So thanks, Bauhaus. We've got 6 folks who are going to be talking with us today, 4 of them who are sitting in front of you. They're all customers of mine with the exception of Bob here in the middle. I'm going to ask them some questions and just have a conversation and introduce them to you. I'm going to start with Peter Gillitzer. In fact, I'm going to sit down and have a little conversation. Well, Peter Gillitzer runs Milk and Honey Ciders. He and some of his other founders have been running that business since
10 years.
10 years. 10 years. Exactly. Peter and I have known each other for more than 20, and I was there when we started brewing and making cider. So, Peter, I'd like to just ask you a little bit about kind of why you've decided to enter the NA market. Maybe that's a good place to start.
Yeah, absolutely. So we deal in everything apples. Our main focus is cider, hard cider. We also do apple spirits, apple juice, and about, I would say, 18 months ago, we started with NA. Alcohol removed cider, so it took me a little bit to get used to that idea. We offer juice, right? We offer sparkling juice for the people who don't want to drink alcohol, and ciders are sort of bread and butter, so why would we do this? Ben really worked on me a little bit, and we did a small batch, released it in our tap room, which is kind of our incubation market, analysis space, and it did really well. And I really saw what this was. I saw that it was something that was complex. It had the aromatics, it had the complexity of our cider, but without the alcohol, and we were reaching a wider audience. So that's why we do it, and we not only release it on our tasting room, but have it in the rest of our Minnesota market. We have over 400 wholesale accounts, and it's doing really well. So we've been really happy with it.
Can you talk a little bit more about the kind of customers that you see that enjoy that product, and kind of who else is coming into the tap room or buying that product that you didn't expect?
Yeah, I think it's people. So the reason we started the cidery and do what we do is we're really interested in food, good beverage, and agriculture, and where that kind of meets up. And so we see people in that drinking it. That's in that same space. We see people who maybe are coming out and enjoying a day in the orchard and are driving back to the metro. A lot of our clients are not from the St. Cloud area where we're located, and so we see people coming in, maybe having a regular cider and then enjoying an NA beverage. So.
Yeah, good. That's what we want to hear. Hopefully we're in a place with these products where it's advantageous to not only the customer who wants it, but that you also bring in new people and they're drinking more. It's kind of a win-win in that way, hopefully. Anything else you want to mention about things you've done with your NA, or can you tell us a little bit about where you sell it, other than the tap room, what your distribution looks like?
Yeah, strangely, so we've been selling quite a bit to other tap rooms, strangely enough. So it's people who want sort of something acid forward, aromatic forward, right, pairs well with food, but without the alcohol. And it wasn't off the bat that it wasn't like a product that we could just take our regular cider and and send it down to ABV and have them just remove the ethanol. We had to sort of, I think, design it from the back end, and that was cool working with your team and your experts. Is that we did 3-4 renditions and realized that we can't just take our heirloom, which is our flagship cider, and run it through. We have to sort of reverse engineer it because it doesn't have the ethanol. So it has to have the acid, it has to have the sweetness, the aromatics, the complexity. And so, yeah, that was cool working with your facility.
And thanks. In the last batch that they released, in order to make sure they got it right, his business partners, Aaron and Adam, showed up at my house at 6:30 on a Tuesday morning with four packs of cider. And we were sitting on my front steps drinking them as people kind of went by on their jogs. They were all NA, of course. I'm getting odd looks from my neighbor. That's the level of dedication I think that you and your partners have to NA. So
Yeah, and likewise.
yeah, thanks. It does matter. It's great. Next, I'd like to introduce Bob Galligan. Bob's the liaison for the Craft Brewers Guild in the state of Minnesota that helps with all things at the Capitol, making sure legislation goes through. Bob's a close friend of mine as well. He and many other people are responsible for making sure that THC beverages and 6-packs and 4-packs and all these other things could be sold right here at breweries, craft breweries in the state. He's known ABV since it started and has helped me to get the word out. Bob, I'd just like to kind of ask you to talk a little bit about why you see this as important as either a service that ABV provides or technology that we provide. Why is this important to your constituents?
Constituents, I like that. Yeah, so I do government affairs, which is why I look like a jabroni right now. There's a bunch of stupid stuff happening in this country, so go vote. Either way, it is somewhat cosmic being here because, yes, Ben, I was the sensory specialist at Surly for 5 years, so the flavor scientist, and I remember this skinny nerd coming in and dropping off sample bottles of this new technique of non-alcoholization and then tasting it and being like, oh, damn, oh, all right, the boys got game. And then also, Ben doesn't know this, but the brewery that I caught my chops in Austin, Texas was actually the very first business to raise $1 million by regulation crowdfunding. So it's been a long time since I've done this, but this type of meeting is not exactly foreign to me, so it's good to be here. Why do I think ABV is important? For about, I would say, 12 to 15 years, I think there's always been this constant question of people in the industry of like, is this the year non-alcoholic actually becomes a viable product? Is this finally the year? People have been talking about it for so long. Is this finally the year? In the past couple of years, we have seen a rather large explosion. It's the largest growing actual segment of beer. Currently, it's not the highest selling, that would still be IPAs, but non-alcoholic IPAs, I believe, are the highest NA selling. So the fact that market continues to grow year over year, I think is incredibly important. We also, looking at different trends, we do know that especially the younger generation is not quite imbibing at the same rate that some of those of us who went to college are. They're not exactly going out to the bars and restaurants like we did once upon a time. And so, especially from the Craft Brewers Guild's perspective, we've had a lot of conversation as to kind of what this means and how do we move forward with that. And the kind of methodology that we've come down to and my new rallying cry is simply everyone deserves a bar stool, whether you drink whiskey or whether you drink beer or whether you drink THC or whether you drink non-altering substances. Everyone deserves, these are third spaces. It's one of the last remaining ones in America where community can come and gather and talk. And everyone deserves to be a part of that conversation. And when we talk about how prevalent NA is across the nation, but especially here in Minnesota, especially to the press when they ask me about the non-alcoholic market, I have to remind them that the Twin Cities is really nationally a non-alcoholic hub. We are seeing non-alc on all of our craft brewers' menus, which is not the case for a lot of places across the country. And I make it very clear that is in no small part because of AB. That we would not be able to supply at this scale non-alcoholic. And if it is any indication, just this morning I got an email from one of my members, hey, can we actually serve somebody else's non-alcoholic beverages in our tap room? yes, then I recommend that you should. And you're only able to do that because of this company, ABV. So.
Thanks, Bob. I have to rely on you to fill 5 minutes. Very convenient. I appreciate that.
I also don't buy anything from Ben, so like that is, I want to make that clear. I am not a customer.
Well, Brian, I guess I'd like to talk to you next a little bit about, why Indeed and ABV got together. In the early days, it was because I knew Tom, so I got a great introduction. Ryan has taken over running Indeed for the last 2 years, I believe.
It's only been a year.
Only been a year? Yeah, it's been a year, yes. Indeed has been a customer of ABV's for a while, and I'd just like to hear a little bit about what the value proposition was that you liked in ABV, why, you and I hit it off personally, but why, as a customer, why did Indeed work with ABV, and why do ABV and Indeed continue to work together?
Yeah.
I think for us, for a long time, the AB, like the non-out beers sucked. Like we couldn't make a good one. And so it was a quality thing for a really long time for us. We wanted to, we've always like kind of made weird shit like generally. And so before anyone else was doing this, we were like, can we do this? And you do the step mash and you do these other techniques and it tastes like garbage. And like, we're not gonna do that. And so that was one of the first things that like Bob was saying like, oh shit, like this actually tastes pretty good. And then with a little bit of tweak on the front end, you can actually like have a really good product that tastes like at the end of the day, like deliciousness like will win out. Like it has to taste good. And I think that's no matter what the drink is or food or anything. And for us at our scale to be able to access the out that you guys have, the technology you guys have, and know what that does to our products, be able to test stuff, like be able to be close where we can be like, hey, try this out. I think this might work. What if we put this on the back end? To end up with a really good tasting beer was the number one. It took us a long time to find some beers. Even half of our beers that we've tried recently with you guys, it was like, God, this sucks. Like we have to do a bunch of trials. But once you find them, like that's like, yeah, I mean, it's our responsibility to provide these types of things to the people that want them. And so I think that was probably the first most important part of working with you guys was your commitment to the quality and to like a really good beverage like at the end of the day. Because at the end of the day, I think the drinkers, I think it used to be talked about in black and white, like you either drink or you don't drink. And while that's certainly true, and I have some very dear friends that would probably saved their lives and they don't drink anymore, but like for most of us, you drink everything throughout the night. And so you have a couple beers and then I'm gonna go to a couple NA beers and then I'm gonna go somewhere else and maybe have an NA wine and then maybe a cocktail. And I think that is the full circle for us where it has to taste really good because they're gonna be going back and forth between these things. And so it has to hold up on the quality side or else it will never last. And we cannot, at our scale, which is not small, like if we can't do it at our scale, well, it's very hard for most craft breweries in this country to do it well, or almost impossible to have it taste really, really good without some sort of DL technology.
Thanks, and Alex, I'd like to talk to you a little bit. Alex Jacoby from Pryes Brewing. Alex, you've been at Pryes for maybe 9-10 years, I think?
7.5.
7.5? I know Jeremy as well. In fact, you guys have been there doing NA with us for a couple of years. We really, haven't talked you and I much, but I've been happy to have, you and Alex just making, it's actually in the evolution of the business, it's great when you have customers that are happy and you don't have to talk to them yourself as the CEO, you've kind of made a step, so I guess this is success. Can you tell us about what Pryes and ABV do together and why a little bit, and what you see as the secret formula here?
Thanks for having me today. So we had a little bit different path than some of the other folks here. We actually looked at purchasing an NA beverage company at one point to make an NA beer. And we just, like they mentioned, it was not good, right? One of the values of Pryes is that we want to make a space for everyone. So we were very passionate on day one that we wanted our tap room to be inviting to everybody, whether you're gluten-free, whether you don't drink alcohol, whether you're children, anything, so that everybody feels comfortable walking through our door. And we felt very passionate that having an NA offering that was in our core competency, which is beer. We are a brewery at the end of the day, but everyone should be welcome in our doors. So we knew we wanted to do something like this, but it's not in our wheelhouse to create a whole new brand. When we worked with ABV Tech, we sent all of our beer to them, and they de-alked all of it. And we worked with them and said, we don't want to come up with a specialized product. We want to find one of our beers that you can remove the alcohol, and it tastes really good. We were able to find our blonde ale has less hops in it, less bitterness, and it really tasted really delicious when we de-alked it. So we weren't looking to make, like I said, a standalone product. So for quite a while, all we had was just an A blonde in the tap room, just offering that variety to make sure that people always feel welcome in our tap room. We actually now have a number of bars and restaurants that are also pouring it on draft as well. We don't currently have any plans to kind of expand the program, but like I said, it was just really for us just making sure that we had something for everyone who walked through the door that was of the same quality of the product that we offer. And that's just been a really great partnership.
We've got a couple of special remote visitors here as well, and I'm going to bring up on the screen. Maybe we can start with Paul Scott.
So, going back, company, we've been making wine for 5 generations, and we see the trends, we see the movement into non-alc. So, we started seeking out different technologies, and in doing so, I started bottling non-alc for a lot of different customers. And these customers were all using technology spinning cone. They were bringing it to me, we're blending it, making non-alcoholic wines, and we just never felt that the taste was there. So one of my customers that we do sparkling wine for overheard a conversation between me and my dad. He goes, well, have you heard of the ABV machine? And this guy's from Minnesota. And I'm like, no, what's that? And next thing you know, we're on the phone with Ben and Patrick talking about the equipment. And the next week, we were in Reno at the brewery, I don't remember the name of the brewery, to taste product off of it. And I was floored when I tasted the beer that came off the machine. I didn't know if the beer, which one had alcohol in it and which one didn't. So that excited us right out of the gate. And then 2, we were taking the filtrate that came off the machine and started thinking, started thinking, what are we gonna do with this other product? So it all started moving quick. And then we started talking to Ben and Patrick, and the next thing you know it, we decided, even though I think we were the first ones really here in California to use it for actual wine.
That's right.
And we knew where we were gonna be with Ben. Ben was open and working with us. We knew it was going to be a lot of R&D on our end, but we got the machine in, and I started running a lot of different wine through it, and different wine that had different adjustments. Not giving all the details or secrets away, but pHs, sugars, acid levels, different tannins, all kinds of different things. I'd take one wine and it would probably have between 10 and 15 different variations to see how it came through the best. And this was about 2 years ago. So since then, I've bottled thousands, probably 100,000 gallons of non-alcoholic wine between ourselves and other customers. We've had some projects where we've done, I had a customer recently that we de-alked for, and they sent product out to the spinning cone to see the exact same wine and how it turned out after going to the equipment. And I mean, obviously I'm biased with some of the equipment, but they were amazed and they were floored by the difference of the machine. So one of the biggest things for me, it has to do with temperature. And I like it from the wine world. If you leave a bottle of wine in your trunk and it gets hot, it's not good. It doesn't taste good. That bottle does not, the cork doesn't push out. The wine does not handle heat well. So that's one of the biggest that we've seen with the ABV machine is that the wine is not yet hot. It may be a little bit slower in process, but it's delicate with the wine and you taste it in the finish. And that's with the wine portion. The filtrate, I've been working with different blends on coming out with the RTDs with our filtrate. It's amazing how clean the filtrate is. On our end, I fermented sugar and water to create the malt beverage. And it's a pretty dirty alcohol. The filtrate from wine is extremely clean. And it actually tastes higher than ABV. When people taste it, they can't believe that it's 12 to 13% alcohol. They think it's 20 to 40% alcohol. It has I like to say like a vodka taste to it, an alcohol taste to it, but you couldn't ask for a cleaner product. So it gives me a clean slate to create another beverage, an RTD.
Thanks a lot, Paul. I'm going to talk down in the line up here, but thanks a lot. Appreciate you being on the call here and telling us about what you use our stuff at ABV for. Appreciate it. Dayne, I'm going to switch over to you because I want to have you be last and best. Dayne from Eastern Market. Dayne, can you hear us over there?
Yeah.
All right, there's a little bit of a delay and some weird AV, so I'm just going to ask a question and have you talk for a little while. Dayne at Eastern Market is the owner of Eastern Market. They're also a success story in the crowdfunding world. They've been growing extremely rapidly and have made some of the best NA IPA that I've ever had. Dayne, you and I have been working together for a lot of years since we were sitting right here at Bauhaus talking about you guys buying a machine. Can you tell us a little bit about what's happened since then and what kind of success you've seen with the NA or filtrate products that come out of our equals?
Yeah, actually, just looked up. I think the equipment was installed almost exactly 3 years ago, as of this week, which I didn't realize until about 2 minutes ago. But can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, so quick background on us. My name is Dayne, the founder of Eastern Market Brewing Company. We are one of, if not the fastest growing brewery in Michigan. We're based in Detroit. We actually have 4 different locations now. All of them have different brands. We continue to acquire breweries that are larger than ourselves. So started out with a 5-barrel brew house in Detroit, and then acquired a brewery that had a 10-barrel brew house, twice as big, and then acquired a brewery that was had a 30-barrel brew house, facility in a town called Royal Oak, Detroit. And then most recently, we acquired Founders Brewing location in Detroit, so we may have heard of Founders. And we opened that location earlier this year. We started a conversation then with the team about 3.5 years ago. We also heard about this equipment and honestly thought it was too good to be true, to the point where me and my business partner threw a couple of kegs in the back of his Tesla and drove to Minneapolis and ran through the machine. While it was processing, the team took us out around Minneapolis and we tried a bunch of NA beers all day, and it was some of the best NA beer I ever had. And we had a really fun day. Usually it's a drunken day, it's fun, but I was surprised by how much fun we had enjoying these NA beers, socializing and meeting other brewery owners. When we came back and tasted our product, and we were, as the gentleman before me said, we were floored by the quality of the beer. I'm on the business side. I don't really make brewers, so I won't get into the science behind it. I think that's bad at brewers, but I taste it for sure. And I think one thing that really impressed me is it's hard. We're growing fast, but we're still a small craft brewery, and it's hard it would have been impossible without the machine to compete with the likes of Athletic Brewing, who's one of the largest breweries in the U.S. now, focused solely on NA. And I didn't think it was possible. We started experimenting with NA beers, and we just couldn't get anywhere close. And I can confidently say that if someone tries our beer next to someone like Athletic, we can hang with them, which is it's pretty cool. Since then, I have seen a lot of really good NA beer come out. I love Heineken and Guinness's NA products. I think they're some of the best in the market. But there's also this piece of locality that's really important to craft consumers. And it's nice because I know like Total Wine is huge here. I don't know if you guys have it there, but they have a huge NA shelf. And our products moving as fast as some of these larger national breweries. And a lot of times we try, it kind of reminds me of the early craft, the product of craft beer, early 2000s. The beer just wasn't that good, but people drank it because it was local. And I think we saw that with NA. But I'm somebody that we're going to make something, we're going to do it 100%. We're going to do it well, and it wouldn't be possible without this equipment. I'd say one other piece that's huge for us is beyond the NA piece, it cuts out the alcohol, and we end up with a clear, pretty close to flavorless hard seltzer. And that was something that was really hard for us before we had the technology, is we were constantly trying to make hard seltzer ourselves. And it was fine, but it always had to lose the flavor. We had elements of yeast get picked up, and then our seltzer products were not consistent. So for the first time, we had really consistent hard seltzer products that buy this machine, which I think people don't always think about, and they're always surprised when I talk about it. And it's really interesting too, because at the start of the year, January especially, we see a huge uptick in our NA sales with dry January, which I think everyone would expect. And in the summer, we see a huge uptick in our seltzer products. So we're constantly playing this game of, in the winter, how do we get people to buy more seltzer? Because we're sitting on a bunch of seltzer because our NA beer is selling so well. And in the summer, we have the opposite problem where our seltzer's flying. We're trying to get people to drink more NA beer. But it's a really good problem to have. Another, I think, really important point that gets forgotten is inclusivity is really important in craft beer. And I actually had an amazing conversation with a bartender candidate this past week. She had been an industry bartender for a couple decades, applied to a position with us. And I asked her why she applied to other really cool craft beer bars. And she let me know that she was sober and that our location was the only place that her and her friends feel comfortable going to, because a number of her friends are sober and they feel like we have a product that serves them, they can experience being in a craft brewery. And so it's hard to put a financial number on the value that provides, but just like hearing her talk about the experience that she's able to share with her friends that do still drink, and you can kind of see the emotion in her face. And we actually offered her the job today, and HR just told me this afternoon that they've never had someone so excited to receive a job offer, which I think is just really cool. I think a few years ago, like a bartender telling me they were sober, I probably would have ended the interview. And the world has changed a lot. Particularly, I'm sorry for going on too long, Ben, but another thing that we're just seeing is that younger generations, even people in their 20s, they don't drink as much. And as a brewery owner, it kind of sucks. For society as a whole, it's a really good thing. I think it's breweries that need to embrace the fact that this younger generation is more health conscious and they're more thoughtful about some of the decisions they're making. They also try alternative products like cannabis, and if we don't evolve with them, and you see this in politics as well. I was at a rally last night, I won't tell you guys too, but it was in Ann Arbor. We've got to evolve with these younger generations, the way that they're evolving. We got to be making products that we want to be successful. And so this technology allows people like us to do it. And I'm not going to talk about some of the other products we're working on that, but we're excited about everything you guys are doing. And I think that there's this huge niche for small and mid-sized breweries to leverage this technology to grow.
Thanks a ton, Dayne. And thanks to everybody who spoke here. I think the themes that you saw were sort of our ability to offer craft breweries, craft wineries, products that they normally wouldn't have access to without buying huge amounts of equipment. We're enabling all of these craft breweries and wineries across the country to do non-alcoholic, non-sugar filtrate seltzers, to do innovative products like Paul Scotto is doing in the wine space. Why don't we give these guys a round of applause?